Okay. We have it written like this. From ages 1 to 3, the maternal program, when the child is fully under the mother's influence. This doesn't mean the father isn't involved. He does have an active influence. But the energetic support is maximally anchored in the mother, although in very rare cases there are exceptions. What exactly is this maternal program from 1 to 3?
It lays down the entire world.
The matrix.
Yes, it connects the child to the world, to the material world of the matrix. It gives access to all kinds of files, pathways, and possibilities.
Potentials?
Exactly. And this is what I was saying earlier. The father can crash against a wall if the mother is rigid, reinforced concrete, wooden, overly correct, categorical, and one-dimensional. At the same time, she may be highly educated, 7 degrees, and a respected figure in her city, her country, or in the school where she teaches. The point is this: the first separation happens when the umbilical cord is cut. The second separation happens when breastfeeding ends. For some children, both happen immediately. The cord is cut and breastfeeding never truly begins. And that means the child, regardless of gender, receives no maternal love at all. It doesn't matter how the mother thinks she relates emotionally. That plays a secondary role because the mother is, by default, in spirituality. And if she couldn't breastfeed, she's in spirituality, whether religious spirituality or a rigid, judgmental spirituality built on claims against the world. Because any religious spirituality is still categorization and the urge to eliminate everything beyond its boundaries.
So from 1 to 3, the mother's program really lays down the potential. In the first part, you said the mother gives potential, the father gives opportunities.
Yes.
Specifically during this period?
I'll explain how it works. The mother may have many interests, but what matters is that she gives tenderness, kindness, care, and physical affection. Because there are different situations. One mother may seem kind, but she takes energy from the child. Another gives, and that difference is crucial. It's like kindness versus pity. They look similar on the surface, but one is poison and the other is life. That's why there are mothers who smother a child with love, draining their life force, and the child gets sick or even dies. And there are mothers who saturate the child with life. I'm saying things here that really need to be absorbed on a deeper level. A mother, just like a father, has an internal hierarchy. First she loves herself, then she loves her partner, husband or wife, and only then does she love the child. And after that comes everything else. One's own parents come last, as strange as that may sound, but they're already inside ourselves. They're already within us. Why does a woman love her partner first and then the child? Because mother and father are one whole. For the child, they are the same thing. One is informational, the other material, but they can't exist separately. It's like the mind and the body. A body without a mind is barely functional, and a mind without a body is just something floating around. So first comes love for oneself, then love for one's partner, and only then love for the child. And everywhere, love. It's distributed according to values. She understands that she can help the child become whole only if she has love for herself, because her partner is her manifestation in the external world. She must love her inner state first, then her external expression, and only then the child as the result of something new being born. Of course, after that come hobbies, work, friends, interests. But parents, as harsh as this may sound, are somewhere far away. And this sounds painful only to parental vampires. Why? Because parents are already inside each of us. That's why they're far.
Right, that's great. So if this is our continuation, then it's essentially us.
It's our past.
Which means there's no need
It's internal, deep.
to maintain very tight contact, because the energetic and informational exchange is happening anyway.
I often catch myself noticing how my mother shows up through me.
I notice it too.
And we haven't communicated for a long time, and she's already in another realm, yet she still pops up from time to time and tells everyone
Sends her regards.
what she thinks about a given topic.
Moving on. Ages 3 to 5, a shared program, a period of equal influence from both parents, masculine and feminine. This is when the father can feel a much stronger connection with the child. Of course, if he's not detached from family life and hiding behind work, errands, friends, hobbies, or the internet.
We're living in a world now that didn't exist before. In the past, children were born as labor force. A child's death was perceived as normal. Until a certain age, a child wasn't even considered a person. And in many religions, until baptism, the child wasn't considered alive at all.
Without a soul.
Yes, without a soul. Like, we'll upload religion into him now, and then he'll have a soul. That's a specific mindset. Remember, nothing external is God. God is everything internal. No ritual will ever be greater than divine essence. No ritual, no church, no prayer is greater than the soul and the human being themselves. There is no higher manifestation of God here than the human being or a child. Children are gods of gods. It doesn't matter whether they came as unfulfilled parental programs, parental tasks, or as future carriers of something new. This world is held together by children before puberty. Without them, the world collapses, pixel by pixel. Because we live for children. Children are us from the future, stitching this world together. That's why we experience the death of even unknown children so painfully, while the death of an elderly person is often perceived as, well, it was time. Children are our personal chance to remain who we are here and now. They are our potential. It doesn't matter whether they're ours or not. There's no such thing as someone else's child. They are one.
Coming back to our topic.
About ages 3 to 5.
Yes.
First, when from 1 to 3 a mother gives love, tenderness, and kindness, and her priorities are set correctly, that child will always be humane. Always. 100%. First of all, that child will most likely be healthy. Minor illnesses may happen, but they'll pass easily. And no matter what role that person later plays in the world, they'll be good for the world. That's why from 1 to 3, maternal love, true maternal love, is essential. If it's missing, then crimes, illnesses, and major life problems are simply the result of insufficient kindness and love given by the mother during that period. The father joins in only to the extent that the mother allows that connection.
You said that from 3 to 5, both masculine and feminine influences are equal. So the mother continues giving humanity that human potential.
Yes.
And the father opens possibilities. How should they act? How is this laid down?
I'm about to say something that may seem unrelated, but it's actually directly connected. I've used this example before, but I'll repeat it. Take a grandmaster, an amateur, and a beginner. Show them a mid-game chess position. The grandmaster reconstructs many pieces accurately. The amateur reconstructs about half. The beginner barely reconstructs anything correctly. Then do another experiment. Randomly place pieces on the board and show it again to all three. This time all three perform like beginners, completely off. Why? Because there's something called deep causal understanding, an intuitive grasp of how a piece arrived at a certain square. Without involvement in the process, that understanding doesn't exist. Why am I saying this? From 3 to 5, both parents influence the child equally, 50-50, because sexuality has fully returned to their relationship. And through sexuality, new information flows in. During sex, they can transmit enormous volumes of potential to the child between ages 3 and 5.
By the way, no matter how long a mother breastfeeds, 8 months or a year, her hormonal system still takes 2 to 3 years after birth to recover.
I've seen it take a bit over 2 years.
You even said 2 years and 3 months.
Yes, that's what I observed. 2 years and 3 months.
But that doesn't mean it restores itself automatically. It means it needs support.
Stimulation.
Exactly.
Which means the mother needs to socialize, show interest, take care of herself, not fall into, I gave birth, now everyone owes me. If she does things only because she has to, she has no energy at all. And then, yes, they're playing music at the club next door.
I think only we can hear that.
That's actually great. We have background music. And by the way, it helps build acceptance, which means it activates ancestral support in the right measure. We're not supposed to be annoyed at the guys.
I feel like by the third block we'll be dancing.
Yes. And by the way, when these new conditions show up, it points to the fact that Nicole and I lacked a certain level of acceptance, meaning we weren't entirely aligned with our ancestors and there was some deep inner resentment. So circumstances are being created for us to work through this here and now.
Okay, so we understand that from ages 3 to 5, things finally become great again between mom and dad.
And by the way,
But there's this side note in parentheses about the father. Of course, if he isn't disengaged from family life and hiding behind his tasks, work, friends, or hobbies. Hiding from what exactly? From sex or from the child?
from the mother who blocked his access to the child. When a mother gets stuck in the child, living on inertia and thinking only about the child, when the child becomes more important than herself or the father or anyone else, that's it. The father goes to work. It's hormonal, really. For example, you guys go fishing, but with my wife I won't go because without her, I just can't. That's how it plays out. When a woman reopens the feminine within herself, then for the father, playing with the child becomes an extension of his business. But it unfolds like this: intimacy, sexuality, interaction, sincere conversations with his wife return, just in a new state. Because from ages 1 to 3, the mother still channels a huge amount of energy into the child and only a portion into the father. And that works only when priorities are set correctly. But in the period from 3 to 5, the father can experience massive financial growth, truly colossal growth, because at that point, he begins to relate to his children as extensions of his projects. When he has sex with the woman he loves, the mother of his child engages with his children and then goes into business. What he's actually doing while being with the children is developing his business. Energy gets pumped in, transformed through the children, and then it's as if the business runs on its own.
So if we look at it through the lens of our first block, then from ages 1 to 3, the mother, by filling the child with programs, potential, and love, is actually materializing the future that the child brought into the lineage, into the family.
Yes.
And then, from age 3, the father begins to work with that future, with those possibilities, by opening them up in the world, both within himself and for the child. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Age 6, correction of destiny. At this age, the child's own destiny begins to influence them, most often through parents, environment, or circumstances. Age 6, correction of destiny.
Remember we talked about how destiny begins forming in the parents 8 to 9 years before conception. Then there's a very dense phase about 3 years before. Everything is already about the child, not counting cases where a program didn't manifest. That's another roughly 1 year phase where it becomes clear something didn't work. An intense energetic encoding begins. Then comes a comparison. What was laid down 8 to 9 years earlier, what activated during pregnancy, what the parents did from ages 1 to 6. And then there's an assessment. Okay, you exceeded the original potential and new tasks are added. It's never like you finish your homework in an hour and get 5 hours free. No, those 5 hours get filled with more assignments. Free time comes after 71 to 73 if you complete the mandatory program. So correction works like this. If everything went really well, truly well, additional tasks are added. If something went off track, then from age 6, tougher, more specific, more dynamic elements get introduced, sometimes even changing the parent's fate.
I remember when you talked about this spontaneously, in flow, I'd read the description many times, but only now, during the webinar, did it hit me that when Robert turned 6, literally everything in our lives shifted.
And I didn't even think about that.
Neither did I.
The same thing happened with Alex at 6, when I left that family and came to you, and we created a new family. So 6 years old, that's correction. And if you're ready, you move up to a new level.
So the events happening to parents when their child turns 6 are actually the child's destiny adjusting the conditions.
Adjusting the environment they're in.
Like, you're stuck here. This isn't the right setting, and this one is. Everything gets recalibrated.
Yes, exactly.
Damn, how do you relate to that? What do you do with it? I'm still digesting.
Accept it as given, because this is exactly what it means to be the creator of your own happiness. What happened to us, exactly how it happened, defines who we are. It's neither good nor bad. There's no label to put on it.
That's destiny at work, right?
Yes, that's destiny operating.
That says it all.
All changes that happen to a child.
And it's great that it works.
Absolutely.
It means it exists.
Yes.
Okay. Age 7, activation of the father's program. The influence of the father's energy, after which all programs merge into one. Then global processes for the child are launched. So, activation of the father's program at 7. Why does it happen after destiny correction?
That depends on whether the parents took action or didn't. But regardless, this is where a direct connection to the future kicks in, the destiny of civilization and of God. And it can become very harsh. Parents can get seriously hit if they didn't do what was needed, or rewarded if they did. Basically, it shows up as pleasant or unpleasant experiences through the child's environment, and only in extreme cases through the child themselves if everyone really messed up.
Damn, I'm drawing parallels in my head. I'll share later. For Roma, this was exactly when a younger brother was conceived. Right at age 7, that lines up perfectly with activation of the father's program, the influence of the father's energy. Sorry that I keep referencing myself. It's just fascinating to observe, and everyone can map it onto their own life or surroundings.
It works the same for everyone. This is what we talked about before. Let's step back for a second and mention that Nicole uses a child development app. When something happens with our youngest, I say, "Nicole, check what kind of growth leap this is." She checks and tells me exactly what should be unfolding. Deep respect to the people who put that together.
It's a long-term study,
It's incredible.
conducted since the 1980s. The app is called Wonder Weeks, I believe. It's relevant up to about 1.5 years, because after that it stops describing the processes. But up to 1.5, it's incredibly precise. Activation of brain zones, interests, abilities.
This is what I mean when I say we're governed externally. And if someone invested resources, and I think someone eventually will, added artificial intelligence to it, then maybe not for us, but in 100 years, we'd know for sure. From birth to 100, we receive specific updates, crises, installations of the new, releases of the old, and forward movement. We are all software. Yes, from 71 to 73, the rigid programs stop running, but then other clusters open, depending on what you completed or didn't, and what stage you're at. This is one of the clearest indicators. Research has only been done up to 1.5 years so far, but everything they discovered is phenomenal. Of course, for some people, it won't line up if they are really oblivious. If they overload the child, create chronic stress, then things will shift. But for reasonably grounded parents, it's spot on. So I'll say it again. If research continued further, we'd clearly see that up to 100 years old, we're absolutely running on software. You could determine which domains activate, how, and through which processes. Even now, Nicole and I
Are working with this.
discuss it. We just do it in broad strokes, whereas it could be mapped in 3 to 4 months. And yes, as a certain kind of AI program, I can read this. The only thing missing is correlation across thousands of children used in formal studies. So all you can say is, we observe and correlate in real time as it unfolds.